My compass is really wanting humanity and the world at large to be in a harmonious place so that we can all experience a good life. When you trust your intuition and you combine that with your willpower, and you say, I'm going to use my willpower to honor my intuition, that's a big yes to the universe.
To the Healing Blueprint. I'm your host, Jill Briansky. On this podcast, I speak with experts from traditional and holistic healing modalities. And together, we share insights, tools, and practical guidance so you can create your own healing blueprint. Let's move into today's episode and get started. Welcome back to another episode. Today we are discussing sound healing and meditation. And I'm honored to be joined by Adrian Dimatteo, one of my teachers from the Sonic Institute. Welcome, Adrian.
Thank you so much. Good to see you.
You too. Can you give our audience an idea of how you came to sound healing?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a musical household, and so music was always part of my life. And I picked up the guitar around age 11, and I studied jazz guitar at the Eastman School of Music, where I received my degree. And I was actually an entertainer, performing artist, in many ways, shapes, and forms for years. I used to live in France and travel all over the world doing that work for parties, restaurants, bars. I was on TV and radio. And then more than 10 years ago now, I encountered music in a spiritual context that really opened my mind up to a whole other world of possibilities for my skill set. And then it blew the doors open, I would say. It transcended being about music, and it really became more about sound in general. And I realized it tied together for me a lot of things, because I always did creative writing. I loved literature. Communication is really important to me. I love teaching. And so it was like all these ways that sound shows up in my life. And then I went down a really deep rabbit hole for, the past 10 years, encountering especially ancestral and indigenous traditions and uses of sound and music for healing with regards to meditation, and bringing music to hospitals, hospices, children's centers, prisons, and many different environments like that where a good vibration is really needed.
Yeah, your work is very holistic, and it spans so many different cultures and ideas. How do you know what someone needs in terms of healing or vibration, and whether they need meditation or different sounds?
People let you know what they need pretty clearly. Sometimes they don't see it for themselves, but by giving enough space to listen to the person and to share, then you can see what they're focused on. Because through their words, through their body language, they can explain to you where they're at. And this can show up in a lot of ways. So, for instance, in the Sonic Institute, we talk a lot about the mental, the emotional, and the physical aspects of how sound affects consciousness. And so if I were to meet with somebody and they start telling me, oh, I'm really depressed, my partner left me, I'm just feeling really alone, then I know that the person is in a deep emotional process. And that's going to influence how I might relate to them in terms of what music, what sound, what types of practices might be beneficial. If they say to me, I've been having a lot of pain in my body in this area or that area, then I know that they're focused on a physical situation, at least from their perspective. And if a person says, I'm really anxious about the world and the things that are happening and I don't know how to find peace, it just seems like everything's so crazy, then perhaps there's something that's going to be better suited to easing the worries of the mind. And so from these perspectives, we find doorways into a healing process that might help the person.
In the healing process that you use, just having witnessed you over a weekend, you have a very deep presence when you're with people, and what you're saying is so deeply grounded in heart and in caring and compassion. And I find that is something that not all sound healers embody. And what is it about your training and about the research that you did with all these other cultures, or maybe it's just how you are, that brought you to that depth?
Well, I will clarify that I don't identify as a sound healer. I use these terms because these are the terms that people understand, but I believe that people heal themselves and that we're all on a journey to do that. And because I've been on my own journey with that since the beginning, then I've worked through a lot of things in my own life, things in my physical health, things in my emotional health, things in my way of understanding the world. And so I sought clarity and I sought freedom from suffering in my own life. And the more that I've been able to accomplish that and free myself of certain things, then it equips me to be able to see people where they are in the midst of their own processes and to say, you got this, it's possible, I'm a testimony to that. And then I just share from a sincere experience because I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not trying to get a person to come back to my sessions so that I can make more money off of them and do sound healing like it's some kind of a commodity. It's really a path. It's a process that I live in a sincere way in my own life. I love music. I love art. I make it whether someone shows up or not. And so if someone does want to connect with us and the work that we do, then I'm happy to be of service in that way. And that's why it's, I would say, grounded and heart-centered, because my compass is not popularity. My compass is not money. My compass is really wanting humanity and the world at large to be in a harmonious place so that we can all experience a good life.
Yeah, you said something during our course that really struck me, and I may butcher the exact wording of it, but I remember when we walked in, you said, we are going to be in ceremony. And that struck me because I wasn't prepared to be in ceremony. And then somewhere in the middle of our time, you said, everything is ceremony. And it's such a profound statement. And I feel like that sort of encapsulates what you're saying about how you live. And I'm wondering if you can explain what that really means for you.
Yeah, this is a fundamental aspect of the way that we operate, because ceremony means a lot of different things to different people. Having traveled and worked in so many different cultural settings, we find ceremonies that take many forms. Ceremonies at day, ceremonies at night, ceremonies with candles, ceremonies without candles. But the importance isn't the way that these things manifest in the outer form. It's the understanding that there is a process. And I sometimes use the metaphor of like going to the doctor's office, and we can see it as a ceremony. You arrive, there's an intake form, they bring you to a special room, they ask you questions, they determine what procedure they're going to run, they do the procedure or tell you these are the things that you need to do to heal, and then there's the integration of all that into your life so that you can complete that process and come out on the other side. In the same way, ceremony, the way that we view it, is a conscious process. Just like a computer has inputs and outputs, and you're going to run a program and you're going to get a result out of that program, then we come into a space which is designed, in this case, for healing, for awareness, for peace, and we cultivate that using tools, and we follow different structures. One basic structure of any ceremony is that you need a space to do it in. Is this going to take place in your home? Is this going to take place in nature? Is this going to take place in a yoga studio or a doctor's office? And so we go through these different types of pillars of ceremony, just fundamental aspects that are universal. But the first space is inside of yourself. We have to come into harmony with our own bodies. Each day we wake up, we get our joints ready, we prime our breathing and our thinking, and we put good food in ourselves, good water in ourselves. We take care from the inside out. And when you're in that process, you recognize that it's a constant maintenance. This is not something that you just do sometimes. You have to keep yourself balanced in a world of senses and information that are constantly asking you to reevaluate how you're responding to this moment here and now. Ceremony, because of the intentionality of it, it gives us a chance to practice consciousness and to engage with our consciousness in a very directed way. So when we come to that space, it's for certain things. For instance, you don't go to the bathroom to cook your breakfast, and you don't go to the kitchen to go to the bathroom. There's a purpose for that. There's a purpose for that space, and there's a way that you relate. So when we come into a ceremony, we have an intention there. What are we here to do? I'm here to let go. I'm here to pray. I'm here to heal. I'm here for some purpose. We're not just there like, I don't know why I'm here. I have no reason to be here. Then go somewhere else then. You don't have a reason to be here. Because of that intentionality, we're able to cause transformations. And so there's a beautiful saying from Maestro Domingo Diaz Porta. He says that ceremony exalts the right to change. And we come from a past, but we arrive into a space like that, and we acknowledge that I'm going to transform some aspect of how I'm relating to my world. And so when you see that that is happening constantly, you face stress in daily life, and you say, you know what, I just don't need to make this worse than it is. And maybe it's actually not so bad, and I can just shift my way of thinking about my circumstances, take different action steps in my life to bring ease to the suffering and to prevent causing more suffering for myself and others. And to me, that's what it is to live in a ceremonial way. It's with the consciousness that we're all interrelated. It's an interdependent process, and therefore there's no beginning and there's no end, because this is life, just flowing, unfolding. And we can choose to see the sacredness in that or not. Whether or not something is sacred is a inner relationship. Like you look at a piece of art and you say, wow, what a beautiful painting. someone stands next to you, they look at the same piece of painting and they say, this thing is ugly, I don't like it. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder. In that sense, the sacred is in the heart of the person who's engaging with their relationships. That I find this important, I find this meaningful, I'm going to choose to derive benefit and lessons learned from these experiences rather than to begrudge my fate and all the other things that just lead us down those pathways. So that's how I would say ceremony shows up for me. That's why it's constant.
And that's beautiful. And I know that you have a connection with the elements as well, and that you also use them as a tool. Are they a main guiding tool, or is your main guiding tool really your inner heart essence?
Well, nothing can be left out of the clockwork. So the universe is, again, fully interdependent. And that means that the thoughts that you think, that you express to me, are going to affect what I now reflect on, because you're putting words into my mind. Now I'm going to respond to those words. But we respond to everything in our environment. And we respond to the rain, we respond to the sun, we respond to the cold winter months. And these change our behaviors because, no, you're not going to go outside in the middle of the winter the way that you might in the summertime. But as they say, there's no bad weather, only bad clothes. So we need to relate to our world, and the elements are very important because many things that we feel are important, oh, my clothes, my house, my car, my job, my partner, my child even, but those things are not forever. They come and they go. We all pass away, and the items that we have will turn to dust, right? Dust we are, and to dust we shall return. But certain things we cannot live without. We're not going to be living without clean water to drink, fresh air to breathe, earth to nourish our food, the sun rising in the sky to give us warmth and to help all those processes. So I incorporate the elements in my work because I am that. I am made of that. And having a healthy relationship with nature is one of the most healing things that you can do. If you don't know where to start, just look outside and give thanks for the beauty of the world. Like, take a moment, go to a river, go to the flowers, go to a local botanical garden. Get outside of the worries and the dramas, because some people feed their eyes with dramas and horror movies and bad news, and it's like all of that information coming into you has an effect on your psyche. Whether you think you're stronger than that or more intelligent than that or not, those energies can have an impact on your way of processing your emotions and your thoughts. So when we go to nature, we get this opportunity to communicate with all of those colors, those smells, those sounds, the temperature, the wind on your skin. And all of this has obviously physiological benefits, which we know from the scientific perspective. Lifestyle is important. Getting exposure to the sun is important. And if you're neglecting that in your life, it can have a toll on your health that is hard to acknowledge until you start to reestablish a healthy relationship with nature.
And as you're saying, we are all of nature, and we are all part of nature. Nature is part of us. It's all this essence. And when you're working with someone, you're in your flow. And when you're connecting to them and their energy field, is the idea just to help them get back into their flow?
I don't necessarily approach it from the perspective of I'm trying to help someone achieve something. I just being in a sincere relationship in that present moment without an agenda. I'm not necessarily trying to project onto them a solution for their life. If I see something, then we establish consent. This is an important aspect of ceremony in general, that the space is created, but there's a consent established that you're here. That's why when you came and I said, we're going to be in ceremony, this is what we're doing, then you have the freedom of will to say, I'm not getting involved in that, I'm not participating in that, I'm leaving, this isn't for me. Or you can bring up any questions or concerns you may have. I'm a religious person. What do you mean ceremony? Is this in violation to my views? So I'm really careful not to project or push onto people things that they may not agree with, understand, or want. So when I'm with a person, it's just sincere. That's why I start usually with, hi, how are you doing? What's going on? What would you like to share with me? Getting curious about the person, trying to discover a little bit about where they are and what their idea is for the interaction. That way I can either consent to or say, look, to clarify, I'm not this for you. I'm not that for you. I'm not your medical doctor. I'm not your psychologist. I'm a human being walking this path together. And together in this space with the open-heartedness and the willingness to meet each other honestly, then maybe we can unravel some things together about human nature, about the difficulties of life. And if there's something that I can offer which is helpful to you, I will. If you're open to that, can I share with you this practice? Consider this. Then the person may heal because they choose that might be good for me. They remember something. you know what you're saying makes sense. I'm going to do that. And then they need to go home and do that, because I can't enforce in their life the changes that I may see intuitively or just rationally will benefit them. If you see a person, you say, hey, quit the heavy drinking. You know, it's really hurting you in your relationships. I can't make the person stop drinking. It's not my authority I'm going to detain you and keep you in a room until you give it up, you know. Interventions come at a certain level. But what we're talking about here is that the person has the volition. They're choosing to take a step towards their wellness, and they've placed some element of trust or openness in me. And because of that, with a lot of love and respect for the soul of that person that I'm with, and I do my best to show up in that moment. Like, how can I be of service? Without the ego of like, I know how to heal them and I know what their path requires. But through experience, I can say, hey, this worked for me. Give it a try. Maybe it works for you.
Yeah. Do you find that people that come to you have some sort of a resonance with what you're doing anyway, that they've had some sort of exposure? I know for me, I'm getting a little off track, but I know for me, I was guided to you. And it made no sense that I was going to Florida to see you. It made no sense because I live in Boston and you were in New York and you were coming to Boston. I'm like, I have no idea why I'm going to Florida to see you. It literally made no sense, but I did it anyway. Do you feel, or have you noticed that is a trend with people, that they just sort of resonate with what you're putting out there?
For sure. People relate to things in different ways. Some of the people that come around, they see something that I've put out and they resonate with that. And then they're like, I want to encounter more of whatever this energy is. I want to exchange more with the person. And that can happen. Some people have different intentions. Some people reach out to us. They say, hey, I'm already a sound healer. I just want to get certified. Can I take your program? You know, their intentions may be like they want the paperwork, or they think that they can buy healing. Like you say, you can buy medicine, but you can't buy healing. And so people come sometimes with loaded concepts, and I can see that the intentions for why, or their approach to it, may not be in their highest interest, but it's still leading them towards something. And I don't turn people away unless it's very clear that there is some type of manipulations happening. And it's like, look, I'm not here for that. That's not what I am. But the intuition is very important. And a lot of people do have intuition, who are, to even be in this world of curiosity about healing and spirituality and consciousness, you've already developed certain awareness in your life that a lot of people, you know, don't have. So when you have an intuition and your rationality comes into play and says, it doesn't make any sense. Why am I going to go to Florida when I could just wait here and be in Boston? But you trust your intuition and you allow that to guide you somewhere. Then that gives grace for the mystery of the unfolding of our destinies to lead to something, because we don't know everything. We don't know all the details. And if you needed to go to Florida, maybe you bumped into somebody in a shop somewhere and you had an interaction and you made a new friend, or whatever reasons. You saw a butterfly on a flower and it just was a very important moment. And you're like, I wouldn't have had that moment if I had stayed home. But you'll never know, because if you go, then you don't know what if I didn't go. And if you stay, you don't know what if I go. But when you trust your intuition and you combine that with your willpower, and you say, I'm going to use my willpower to honor my intuition, that's a big yes to the universe. That's like, I don't know where this is going to take me, and I can't control that. But I'm going to trust myself, and no matter what happens, it's good. It's all good, because I'm going to take it that way.
That's a really beautiful way of reframing that. And I will say that generally when the yeses come intuitively, it's more than just one thing. So it's the butterfly, and it's the person that you bump into, and it's all these things. And I know that when I stepped foot into that, I think it was a gong sanctuary is what they called it, I knew that, A, that's where I needed to be. The people that were there, I needed to meet. And then I think it was on the last day, somebody brought in cacao. And it wasn't intentional. They just had their own intuitive moment. I need to make cacao. And they honored you and what you were doing by asking permission to serve the cacao. I don't know if you remember this. And in the middle of it, you just started to play song and sing. And it turned into its own beautiful ceremony in the middle of this ceremony. It was so powerful for me, and I know not just me, like everybody that was there, that I'm connecting everything that you're saying by saying that it's the allowing, it's the flowing, it's the saying yes, And then when everybody does that together, we create really beautiful magic or music.
Yeah, this is another aspect of healing that a lot of people misunderstand, which is that it's done together. It's a communal process. Nobody is just sick on their own. People are suffering as a result of conditions in their lives. The conditions in their lives have arisen because of social factors, environmental factors, genetic factors, which are inherited. So there's any time that you're doing that type of work with yourself, you're affecting all of your friends and family, and you're affecting your society by extension. And so when a lot of awakened, conscious people with good intuitions come together and offer their gifts and their light to a process, then it's just that much more that we share the process, and not one person has to hold it all. So a lot of people that come to sound facilitation experiences may come with the concept that I'm going to a sound bath, it's a healing experience. But we say sound healing and meditation because we want people to understand that you don't have to be sick to do this. You don't have to be sick to come here. So if you come with just a prayer, you want to, you're concerned about things that are happening in the world and you want to offer a lot of love and peace and, radiate and generate that energy, you can use the experience to be in your concentration. So that's another way of relating. If you say sick, then healing and sickness arise together. So this dependent arising is part of the process. Now, if someone brings in cacao, then I have to say, okay, what's the intention? What are we doing here? I have to be clear that we're not doing a cacao ceremony, but we will enjoy this cacao and share this together. And, there's a difference. So, and having that consent is very respectful because I don't just bring my process into another person's process and just, again, impose it. It's like, is it okay if I share? Is it okay if I touch this? Some people come and they don't have the training, so they just pick up an instrument. And I'm like, did you ask if you could touch that? Because there isn't a sense of the sacred yet, that this is a personal tool that I use, that is magnetized in my energy, that I've carefully cultivated. Would I go into your home, go into your bedroom and pick up your pillow? It's like, that's an intimate thing. So we learn, and that's why there's no mistakes. It's just like, okay, is this okay? If it's not okay, that's okay. It's just we're learning how to relate to each other.
And how to relate to the instruments, which you just said, which is another powerful thing that you imparted on all of us, is that it's not necessarily what we're doing, it's the intention and the connection and relationship that we have with the instruments that we're using. And I feel like a lot of people miss that step of really honoring the instruments.
Absolutely. And it's another quote that I've carried with me for a long time, is that the way you are in ceremony is the way you are in life. And the ceremony just reflects that to you, because in general, the medicines are like mirrors. They reflect to you things that you need to see. And what you will see in a ceremony is according to your nature. So some people come very skeptical, very negative attitude, and then they're there the whole time just, what is this? This is a bunch of nonsense. It doesn't work. I should have just stayed home. And that's what you get from your experience. You get a negative, skeptical, condemning attitude. But that's not because the ceremony is that way. That's because you're that way. Now, if you choose to look at that and say, can I soften my heart? Can I open my mind? I'm here anyway, why don't I make the most of it and be positive? Then that's the reflection. So if the person doesn't have honoring relationships with any of their objects, chances are they also don't have an honoring relationship with their own bodies, with the food that they put in their bodies. And then for whatever reasons, they sell themselves short. They buy the junk food, they take the drugs, they have casual, frivolous relationships that bring a lot of hurt because of the honoring is missing. So by practicing, ceremony is a practice. It gives us a chance to practice honoring things that we value. And that doesn't have to be a deification. People sometimes are concerned about their religious values and things. Are you pagan? What is the fire? Or the this and that? I'm like, no, it's an honoring of the relationships to all things. So we do the invocation. We call into the experience things that matter. In these cases, benevolent things. We're calling in consciousness, awareness, peace, generosity, love, forgiveness, interdependence. These are the things that I choose to invoke. Other people have their ceremonies. They may invoke other things, but I don't do ceremonies dedicated to hatred. I don't do ceremonies dedicated to violence. There are plenty of those happening, and we need to learn to acknowledge that people use these magical powers that they have to invoke and to generate things in their world that you don't want the effects of that, but you will see the effects of that. So the instruments give us a chance to cultivate a relationship, an honoring relationship with something that we love, that we can use it as a tool in our life. And if we carry that like that, it will have more power because we value it. It's like a person that you choose to love. You have to take care of that. You have to nurture that love. You have to remind yourself why. And if you get negative things coming in and then you destroy the image of the person, next thing you know, it's gone because it wasn't taken care of. So it's easier with an inanimate object, so to speak, because it's up to you. You want to love it or not. You're not expecting that the thing is going to love you back. You just love it. So it's an unconditional kind of a situation.
Yeah, I've actually found with some of my sound instruments, they do love me back. They sing in ways and they play in ways. I'm sure as a musician and someone who works with sound, you probably have experienced something similar, right? Where you've developed this relationship and then all of a sudden you start to hear new notes coming out depending on how you're approaching that instrument in a different way.
Yeah, and a lot of the instruments are living, breathing things in a sense that, so the flutes, I carry a lot of flutes from Peru because I've worked closely with family down there. And from their cosmological perspective, the flutes are spirits, they're living beings, and you carry them throughout life. And even after death, some people are buried with these tools. But the thing is that the bamboo, it's organic. And so it changes the more that your finger oils get into the instrument. It changes with the heat, with the humidity levels, and you have to take care of it just like you would yourself. Make sure that it's warm, make sure it's not too hot, make sure that it's not too dry, make sure that it's not too wet. And the vibrations and the sounds also change over time because when you blow into the flute, the vibrations resonate the instrument and it rearranges the molecules of that wood. And so they become more porous. So for this reason, vintage instruments are often sought after because the vibrations have already been put into them and they become warmer, they become more open, and you can study that scientifically if you want to. But the point is, the instrument isn't the same the first day you get it and the last day because it's also a dynamically transforming thing. This happens a little less with, metals and crystals, but wood shows it very plainly. The color changes. The sound changes more obviously. But the psycho-spiritual relationship to the instrument and the hearing, because what you said is very important, you start to hear different sounds and you listen in a different way, and that evolves too. So the instrument may seem to change, but the question is, did the instrument change, or am I evolving in my way of listening, hearing, and feeling the vibrations that are coming off of these tools?
That's a really great question that I'm going to have to put some thought into. So this has been very informative. Thank you. If somebody wanted to work with you or hear some of your music, how would they do that?
The easiest way to get in touch is to visit sonicinstitute.com, where you can learn about our programs. You can contact us through the web chat or the email there. And you can also find a copy of my book, Elements of Sound, a full spectrum exploration of sound and consciousness. And my name, Adrian Dimatteo. The music is available on streaming platforms wherever you like to listen to music, and also, again, through sonicinstitute.com. So I do hope you'll explore that music. Those resources are there for you to connect and to meditate and to benefit.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing your experience and your journey with us.
Thank you for having me. I always appreciate the invitation. This is the type of conversation that I love to have. Some people like to talk about the fantasy sports statistics and the stock markets, and I don't know so much about those things, so I like to talk about what I'm familiar with or learn from other people. And this is what I like to talk about: spiritual things, consciousness, health, how to make a better world. So appreciate you doing what you're doing to share these perspectives with people.
Thank you for being part of it. That's a wrap for this episode. Honor what landed, release what didn't, and we'll see you next time on The Healing Blueprint.